The Scott Ryfun Radio Show.
There we go. Hey, how are you? It really is Friday today. Believe it or not. Hollywood tried to convince us that yesterday was Friday. They were wrong. Today is, in fact, Friday. It's good to have you guys with us here this morning. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is going to be a really low prep Friday. The good news for me is I have a lot going on today. I have a lot of appointments, I have a lot of things to do. Some of them are going to be really fun and enjoyable, and some of them, they're going to be things you have to do. But I think in the overall, it's going to be good. It's a big full day. Hopefully you guys have a big full day as well. It's Friday. Hopefully you'll get into the weekend and have a great weekend. I made the decision really during the program yesterday that I was going to go see Spider-Man, the brand new day. And I'll give you a review of it. I will give you a review. Let's do our good mornings first a little bit here. Good morning from number 8. Good morning from Joe. Wesley says good morning. Thumbs up from Paul, and that's always a good thing. Our day can officially start now. Happy Friday. Mikey gives us a good morning. Slow prep Friday. It's interesting. I got up a little bit later than usual today. I'll be honest with you. And I didn't find as many things in the normal sources as I did, so it may be a little slow prep Friday today. David says hello from way up there in North Carolina. Again, the fact that we span so many different areas, so many different places is wonderful to me. Steven says good morning. Hi, how are you, sir? Pooler. Yes, indeed. Good morning from number 45 and family. Glad to have the whole family on board as well. Jesse says hello, number 33. Mott Hoople. Interesting. Good morning. Brad says, good morning from 165 and his beautiful bride. Hope you guys are having fun up there in the North Georgia mountains. Today is my 4th wedding anniversary. I deserve a number, says Jesse Hicks. Jesse Lamar Hicks. So let us get Jesse Hicks a number because we haven't given any numbers. We try to max it out at 3 per day. And so here we go. 187. Jesse Hicks. Happy anniversary. Congratulations. Indeed. Dwayne Carroll, 180. Good morning. Good morning. Feels like the temperature in Savannah is going to be really hot. 104.3 degrees. Well, maybe not today, but maybe soon. Maybe in the very near future, it will be 104.3 degrees in Savannah. Slightly cooler in Brunswick at perhaps about 103.7 degrees. But yes, good morning. Good morning. Yes, good morning. Absolutely. Glad we had 2 Fridays instead of 2 Mondays. Isn't that the best way to do it, really? Goodbye, Fauci Friday. Good morning from 135. John says morning. Good to see you, sir. And good morning, number 32. Thank you, sir. And Skip went all the way down to exit 38. He abandoned me over here. What are you doing? Morning. I swear it's getting longer and longer. You're welcome. Glad to have you here. John Thorpe says good morning. Low prep, hello, including the 177 brain trust. Oh, so Marty is being grandfathered into your number now. I see how it is. Morning, Scott. On this day, 1991, Georgia joined the United Nations. In 1992, go Dogs. I don't know if that's the same. One of our local guys married a young lady from Georgia, I believe. I believe she was from Georgia. He was working over there. He was a smart guy, good buddy. We were friends. We were friends going back to the point that we were little kids and we would play $6 Million Man. And that far back, and he went off to college, got a couple of masters from MIT, no big deal, and went over to Europe and was working to really fascinating business, tell you the truth, where they were when the Soviet Union collapsed, the government no longer did everything for you. Shocker. And one of the things that the government did was they just gave you electricity. Now, it wasn't efficient, it wasn't good, it wasn't reliable, but they gave you electricity. And their job was these private companies would go buy all the electricity, all the power plants, and try to make them profitable as actual commercial enterprises. And they had to go into the former Soviet republics and do that stuff. And it was difficult. Because these are people who went, decades without having to pay for electricity. Why, that's a thing the state gives you. And they had to change that. It was a real culture change. But I think he met and married a lovely Georgia girl. Let's see. I just decided while we were on the program, we were talking about it. We opened the program yesterday talking about how yesterday was Friday, according to Hollywood, because Spider-Man came out Friday. And it started at noon on Thursday. And I told you, it went through the history of that. How, it used to be, if it came out on Friday, then at 12:01 a.m. Friday. And that's why they would have those midnight screenings, because it's, first thing Friday, we can show a movie. We're going to show it. And they started going, we could probably do a little better having that thing at 9, which I was okay with, because I don't like doing midnight movies. It's because I'll pass out during one. And so they moved it up to 9. So a movie that came out on Friday could actually start being shown at 9 on Thursday. Okay. All right. And it makes sense, because it takes the place of the midnight screening. All right. And then a couple of years later, they moved it up to 6. All of a sudden, a movie that came out on Friday could come out at 6. And then a couple of years ago, they changed it to 3. And then earlier this year, they changed it to 2. And then this week, it's noon. So, and again, that's why you'll see Monday, you'll see these stories on the news of Spider-Man No Way Home, or not No Way Home, what's the new one? Brand New Day. Spider-Man Brand New Day had the biggest Friday in history. And it probably will. I think it will. But part of the reason for that is it's 2 entire days worth of gross that counts as Friday. So, I mean, while, don't get me wrong, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge, ginormous. But it's not exactly, the Friday is not exactly what you think it is, sadly. But I will say this. I did go see it. I made the decision to go see the noon show. So I went and had a real quick lunch, went over to see the noon show by myself. I invited G-Man. G-Man was off from work, and I invited him, and he was big on going to see the movie, but he would not go see it with Dad. He had to go see it with his friends. So, all right, that's fine. But I'm going to, let me also preface this with a little bit of this. You guys know I have comic books. I've read them for a really, really long time. Spider-Man was always my guy. Spider-Man was always my number one guy. The Thing was like number 2, but Spider-Man was my guy. And a lot of it is because, when you come of age and you're a teenager, and you've got the teenage angst thing going, and Spider-Man is all about teenage angst. Even when he's an adult, he's still got a lot of the teenage angst. So you identify with it, but you also see a guy who rises above it and, who does not let that stop him from, all the terrible things that happen. It doesn't let it stop him from rising above and doing great things and saving the world sometimes. And very often saving his neighborhood and saving his friends and family. And, so he was and he was funny. I liked that he was funny because he always had he always had jokes. So when the Sam Raimi movies came out, the first one came out in 2002, I thought, wow, they did a lot of, they got it right. They got a lot of it right. And the second one came out 2 years later, and I think they got it even better. The third one had its moments, but forcing Venom into the movie really messed it up. But that having been said, then they switched over to that other series, not good stuff, and then they restarted it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Homecoming. And I remember watching the movie, going, "Hey, this is a really good movie. It's just not Spider-Man. It's like Iron Man has a little buddy." So it's like Iron Minion, but it's not really Spider-Man. It's not the guy I see in the comics. And, so I enjoyed it, but I would always come out to going, it's not the guy from the comics. It's not the guy I used to read. It's not, and, the end of the third film that they did a few years ago, No Way Home, the last couple of minutes where they had just really kind of broken him down, it was the guy from the comics. Like the last couple of minutes of No Way Home, that was the guy. That was the guy that I've been waiting 3 movies to see. And I have not had my allergy pill this morning. I apologize. I'm sniffling a lot. But I was kind of looking forward to this because I thought, well, maybe we'll get that guy in a movie finally. We'll get, not for the first time since, probably 2002 or 2004. And we did. We really did. I mean, there's still some differences. MJ is not MJ. But within the context of that story, you got a classic Spider-Man story. It's fun. There's a lot of adventure. There are at least 3 times. Mrs. Reifin and I are going Saturday at 3. And I've already told her there are at least 3 times where she's going to cry because it does that. It's got the Punisher in it. It's got Tombstone in it. It's just got, a lot of stuff. And it's got a villain who they tell you not to say who it is. So I'm not going to say who it is. And don't say it in the chat if you know. But it's a very important part of the film as well. And it's kind of one of those things that's forward looking for the whole Marvel universe, which they've needed for a while because they've kind of been adrift. And that's the other thing is I feel like this movie's kind of a course correction for that Marvel Cinematic Universe. But is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. None of these things are perfect. And I'm one of these guys. I remember when I was a senior in college and I was approached by some guys to help write for a TV show that they were going to produce on our cable channel. And then I kind of became like the main writer, and then I became one of the main hosts. And, I put a mandate down. We were putting all the material together for the first episode. I said, it's got to be 30 minutes. It can't be more than 30 minutes. We've got to stop it at 30. We can't be self-indulgent. We've got to get, and we sat down. We had a big party to, like a viewing party for the first episode of the show. And we all sat down, we watched it, and the dadgum thing came in at like 48 minutes or something like that. And they were all like, okay, great. Now we're going to go get dinner. And I was like, you guys go get dinner. I'm recutting. And they're like, what do you mean? I said 30 minutes. This isn't 30 minutes. There's flab everywhere. So that's like, you got to understand, I see things like that all the time. And I go, oh, there's one right there. Yep, there's one you tuck away. There's one. Get rid of that. I'm constantly cutting stuff. So, for me, but I will tell you this too. There's a lot of times where I watch a movie and I go, that movie could have been 20 minutes shorter. That movie could have been, 25 minutes, 30 minutes shorter. In this instance, I would say 5 or 10. There's a little bit of flab, but it's not bad. Not bad at all. Would you? You do not know how good I have it. You don't know. Sometimes I forget how good I have it. Somebody was paying attention to the feed and realized I'd mentioned not having my allergy pill this morning. And now I have my allergy pill. And a bottle of water that got dropped right in front of the camera. So, like I said, you don't know how good I have it. But anyway, it's got heart. It's got, buddy moments with him and the Punisher. It's got buddy moments with him and Ned Leeds. It's got Spider-Man poses from the comics that you haven't seen in films yet. It's got a great ceiling walking moment that is again straight out of the comic. Again, a lot of visually, this movie is different from any of the Spider-Man movies that have ever been done. There are a lot of things like there's just like some point of view stuff that I've never seen them do. It's kind of lightning in a bottle. It's a really, really, really good movie. And, if that's your thing and, if it is, you're going to have a great time. You're going to have a fantastic time. I promise. Pam says, good morning. We say good morning as well. Walter, Commissioner Rafalski says, looking forward to you joining the team. I will be joining that team Monday. And I've been informed by Podcast Boy that I have to have integrity, which he knows all about. So I love so far that somebody's been fishing for records on me And so far they have that I filed some open records requests, and I started to file a TPO against somebody because basically they had driven me to the point of carrying a gun everywhere, which I didn't think I would ever do. And those are somehow, that's like the extent of my records. That's those aren't records. That's life. That's living. That's not the same thing as stealing $60,000 from Albanian gangsters, or stealing $95,000 from convenience store owners. Let's see. Good morning. Yes, absolutely. 137 is in. Good to have you here. Glenn says good morning, and we're glad to have you here. Michael says good morning as well. Rest in peace, Captain J. Childers, island legend. I assume that is the gentleman who passed last night. Certainly thoughts, heart, condolences. I saw some of that last night, and I saw some people really upset because there was a lot of social media nonsense surrounding it again. And we definitely say rest in peace to him, and we'll say that. Jerry, how are you? How are the well, I guess they're not kids anymore. I guess they're grown now. So they were kids when I was on 103Q. Let's see. If you're a Braves fan or those ticket dogs, you already have the radio. Okay, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. Stop. Who played Spider-Man best? Who's your guy? That's tough. That is tough because when Tobey Maguire came out as Spider-Man in 2002, I mean, I was just like, this guy is great. This guy is wonderful. This guy is perfect. This guy's terrific. Who was the second guy? Andrew. What was his name? The Amazing Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield. When he came out, I remember going, no. And I remember also going, and it's this weird thing of it's kind of like when you're reading a book and you stop and you go, man, that sentence is really good. What a great sentence that guy wrote here. And then you realize that's, while that may be good construction, that's not a good thing that you stop the reading experience to notice what a good sentence the guy wrote. If the guy was a great writer, he would write sentences that just blend in and just go straight into your brain and you don't notice it. And that's kind of how I felt with Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. There were kind of two things I had as major criticisms. One, you watch him and you go, gosh, this guy's a really good actor. But you shouldn't notice how good an actor is somebody is when they're acting. You should just kind of go with the role and just buy into it and believe it. But you go, God, the way he stutters right there, that's really good because it's hard to replicate that, But the other thing was just his Peter Parker was too hip. And that's not Garfield's fault. But, Peter Parker is a nerd. Peter Parker is an outcast. Peter Parker's, he's not part of the cool group. And Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker was too cool. Tom Holland, I like. He's a great actor, and he does a really good job in the role. Most Peter Parker-ish, it's probably Tobey Maguire. But I really like this new movie. Absolutely. Every time I come to the kitchen, you in the kitchen, in the refrigerator, eating up all the food, all the chitlins, all the pig's feet, all the collard greens. What is this? What is this? I don't know what that is. Love Punisher, always my number one Marvel guy. Punisher's good. I like Punisher, but I like Punisher when he's not overdone. To me, Punisher is a great seasoning. And then sometimes you can just do a little too much. So we'll see. Well, but I think he's in this movie the right amount. And I think he does a lot of the right things. I thought he was terrific. Best Spider-Man was Nicholas Hammond. Nicholas Hammond never got a fair shot, but even Hammond was a little too cool. That was that weird era where in Hollywood they would say, well, we can't expect the audience to believe two superpowered beings in one show. It's hard enough to get them to accept one superpowered being. So here's Spider-Man. He's going to be fighting jewel thieves. Here's Spider-Man. He's going to be fighting somebody faking ghosts. No, we actually want to see superpowered people slug it out. That was the brilliance. That was the revelation of Superman 2. In 1980, Superman 2 comes out, and he's flying through the air, and he's clocking, General Zod or Ursa or Non or whatever, and they're flying across the city, landing in giant neon signs and stuff. And it was like, yes, we want super guys fighting super guys. Thank you for finally noticing. Nicholas Hammond is Spider-Man. 88 says, good morning. We say good morning to you as well. 77 minutes is ideal for a podcast. I've heard that before. Black Widow's office was great. Black Widow was fun. And it was funny because I stayed up last night because as one of the reasons I was up late last night was G-Man went to see it last night with his friends, and I saw him come home, and I said, let me go see what he says. Let's go talk. Let's go talk. And so he and I sat and chatted about the movie, and we were talking about places where, again, a few little cuts, few little sags. Black Widow is in the movie literally for the purpose of being an expo dump. She's literally in the movie for giving you lots of exposition. And when you have a character who's doing that, you'd better make it interesting. And there's a moment where she is, first off, putting her in her office was a great move creatively, because again, you have to make the expo dump interesting. You can't just have a character feeding you plot information and just standing around. It has to be different, interesting, unique, entertaining, good, that kind of thing. And so she was. The setting was terrific, but there's a point where she's going on a bit. She's going on a good bit. And then all of a sudden, I'll just say this, something happens and it's very funny. And you realize even the filmmakers are going, we know we have to break this up. We know we can't just have big info dump. But that having been said, she's very entertaining in the film. Very entertaining. All right, let's see what else we got here. Great wife, great. No doubt. Happy actual Friday. There you go. No comment, Miranda. No comment. It's new guitar pedal Friday, Boss RV6. I own one. I own one guitar pedal. I own a delay. And I bought a delay because I got a really good transcription of Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee. And I said to myself, I looked at the transcription, and it was like, and it's all eighth notes. It's all eighth notes. And I said, I can do this. This is not a problem. I can do about the first, 3 or 4 measures of it. It's just, I don't have the sustained coordination to be able to do it, sadly. But I bought Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee. If you've ever heard it, it's on Extreme 2, Pornography. That's the one with more than words on it. But this piece, it's a really neat little guitar piece, but it does involve a delay pedal, and a lot of people don't realize. In fact, I have a transcription of it where the guy who did the transcription didn't think there was a delay pedal, so he literally transcribed every note. And you're going, no human being is doing this. But I did buy a delay pedal because I thought I was on the way to being able to do that piece, and maybe if I didn't have a job and I just spent all day doing that, maybe I've done the wrong things during my period of unemployment here. But maybe not. But yeah, that's the only pedal I have. And the reason for that is because I almost never don't need anything other than just crunch, just high gain crunch on my guitar. That's all I want. And then if I want to back it down a little bit, you want to play something that doesn't quite crunch as badly, just kind of take one of the pots down on the guitar. And so, yeah, I don't use pedals. I have that one pedal, and I never use it because I never really learned to play that piece well. Great piece, by the way. But yeah, so I'll see what the Boss RV6 does, because I have no idea. I just don't do pedals. Good morning. Good morning to you. Records? Are you talking about like box office records, like I was talking about earlier? Yeah, there will be records. You're talking about open records? Oh, well, that's a whole different thing. Yeah. Yes, I've filed open records requests in the past. Apparently that's a sin, but I will continue to file open records requests because that's how you do things. Let's see. Good morning. Looking forward to Spider-Man. Hope you see Young Washington as well. I still have not seen Young Washington, and I've heard a lot of things from a lot of people that they said they really, really enjoy it. Good morning from 144. Love the show. Thank you, sir. Over here waiting on a number. You got a number. I've told you that. I told you yesterday you have a number. I gave you a number a couple of days ago. You are 181. 181. Write it down. Hope everything's going well for you guys, though. I saw you got a little some things going on there. Troy says, good morning from the Savannah area. Glad to have you here. 1138 standing by. Hulk was good to see. Could use more of that. It's funny you say that because one of the things I said to G-Man was Hulk was not necessary. Have a wonderful day, ma'am. All right. She's off, gone. I thought Hulk was kind of unnecessary to the film. That's what I'll say. It's nice to see Hulk, but kind of unnecessary. Henry Ball said, forgive me for being late. What are you doing for the county? Oh, I announced this, I don't know, last week maybe. I was offered and accepted a position in as a communications specialist with Glenn County. I will be working primarily in the areas of public safety, which is police, fire, animal control, helping EMA when they need something. It will not affect this program. It will not affect our putting this program on the radio. That was one of the big conversations that we had to have. And they really didn't seem opposed to it. So I'm going to keep doing what I do. And I'm going to do that as well. Because I'm still not legally disentangled from iHeart. I haven't signed their documents yet. So, and I'm not going to sign the document I've got. That's under advice from counsel. So, we'll figure it out from there. Let's see. Shaz. Okay. I don't know what that was about, but okay. Oh, 77 minutes. No. You don't feel attacked, Steve. He said that because his podcast was 77 minutes every single week, no matter what. When he was doing Techno Retro Dads, every episode of Techno Retro Dads was exactly 77 minutes. Let's see. I think that was a quote from Friday, the movie. What was? Wait, what? Okay, I'm lost now. Let's see. Good morning from 101. What are you, binary now? Love it, Scott does Saturday Lives. Oh, yes, today, of course, would be the other. Caught Spidey yesterday at the newer independent St. Mary's Theater with the family. Son loved it. Good. And the kids, I'll tell you one of the neat things. One of the neat things is watching the kids at these movies. And the kids were dressed up. The kids were totally into it. And what I love about this, I've been talking about this for a while. There really has been a kind of a cultural assumption that movie theaters are toast, that movie theaters are dead, that movie theaters, nothing will ever happen again in movie theaters. And things like what has been happening this summer say to me, no, if you put a really good movie in the theaters that people want to go see and people are passionate about, movie theaters aren't dead. And you've seen that this summer with The Odyssey, and you've seen it with Toy Story, and now with the new Spider-Man. And people love this movie. The kids are going to see the movie like crazy, and they're enjoying it. And there's some bad language. Frank Castle uses some bad language. It does not drop the F-bomb. Tries to at one point, but Spider-Man stops him from it. That's what I'll say. Went to school with Nikki Hammond. Oh, how neat! The very first screen Peter Parker. Black Widow was. Well, her office was rather unique. We'll just say that. Speaking of records, how much is my Cheech and Chong Big Bamboo album worth? You got me. You got to go to somebody else about that. Lisa Seaver, good morning. Yes, Nuno. Nuno is ridiculous. And if you have social media at all, there's all kinds of Nuno stuff out there. The guy, I'll tell you what's sad to me as a guy who really, really, really loves guitar. And great guitar playing. I don't think Nuno gets the credit he deserves. It's hard to even put into words how good the guy is. And he played for Rihanna for a bunch of years. He apparently is very musically illiterate, and yet he seems to be able to pick up a guitar and do anything he wants to do, which is insane to me. But when I was working in music retail and More Than Words came out, it was a big hit, and it's on that Extreme 2 album, like I said. And I bought that album when it came out because I loved their first one, and I love that one. And so I knew who they were from the first album, and I knew what I was getting more of, and I enjoyed it a lot. And More Than Words came out, and everybody Loved More Than Words. Great. It's a wonderful song. Wife and I love it together. And but working music retail, like I can't tell you how many copies of that album I had to take back. Like we had kind of a deal with, mostly you don't want to do a return unless it's defective. But if somebody's just upset, you make the customer happy. So many people brought that album back. Housewives. I can't believe this. This is just a bunch of loud, hard rock. I thought it was nice, pretty music like that song. I was like, no, I mean, it's got a couple of nice, pretty music songs like that, but look at the cover, for crying out loud. That's not a nice, pretty music cover. But and the thing is, they would come back and they would be angry. They wouldn't just be like, it's really not my thing. They'd be mad that it wasn't the album they thought they were getting. It's a great, and I'll tell you this, not only is it a great album, but so that came out in 1990. So in 2015, they did a show in Vegas where they played that whole album straight through live. And then there's a CD of that. And it's out there and it's on digital music services. And I will tell you, check it out. If you like that kind of thing, it is really, really, really good. We would all like more than 0 minutes of podcast from Geek Out Loud. Absolutely, we would. Mr. Blocker's here on a Friday morning. Good morning. We haven't even really gotten to the stuff. Like Young Washington, can't wait for the sequel because there is more history to tell. There's lots and lots of history to tell. Thank you very much, Henry Ball. Thank you. Tough cuts to make 77 minutes. Loved editing on Fridays. Let's see. What time did you go? 7 p.m. viewing was packed and everyone was in Spidey gear. I went at noon. I went to the first show. G-Man was at the 7 o'clock show. And G-Man, you got to understand who G-Man is. He is an offshoot of me, but maybe a little more intense. And so, like, he came home last night and I got out of bed. I was actually in bed and I saw that, we have a Ring camera in the living room because we want to make sure the dogs are okay and everything. And I saw the Ring camera got triggered. So I got up and to talk, because I want to talk to him about the movie. And so I was looking and, there were 21 seats available according to the website at Showtime at 6:59. I swear to you, this is a conversation we had. There were 21 seats available, and 4 of those were the wheelchair slots, so they weren't actual seats. So at 6:59, there were only 17 seats left in that whole theater, and they were all like in the front 2 rows where nobody really wants to be, because when you're at the GTX, unless you have a remarkably flexible neck, you are not going to have a good time in the front row of the GTX. The rule of thumb, and when I was a kid, I thought the closer to the screen, the better. Let's sit right in front. And it's not a great viewing experience for anybody really anywhere. But what I will say is our rule of thumb that I kind of learned when I was in college, minoring in film, was kind of sit there and get to a place where you can have your head in one spot, not move your head, but credibly see the entire screen. Like, you can focus on the entire screen in your field of view, but you don't have to turn your head. You don't have to move your eyes around. You just look at the screen. And that spot where you can see it that way, that is the sweet spot in the theater. For me, and I probably shouldn't give this away because it was certainly gone there. For me, it's the dead center of row K in the GTX at Glen Place. But yeah, even at the noon show, kids were just all dressed up in costumes and everything. It was fantastic. Good morning, fellow number 111. Lovely day in Effingham County. Good. I'm very glad to hear that. 69-25 wishing me a wonderful weekend. I wish you guys a wonderful weekend as well. Practicing computer math. Is this a new job for a 40-hour per week office job? I don't understand. What, the computer math? What? Absolutely right about Nuno's. Yeah, the guy's ridiculous. And you just go on the internet and just look at the different things he does. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Good morning again, Mr. Blocker from Jessup. Happy Friday. Watched Empire Strikes Back on the front row in 1980. These days it's middle. Yeah. Middle's not bad. Any news about Gaston? No, I don't have any new updates about Gaston, but let's take a look at him really quickly because he is at Animal Services, and he is a boy who likes to eat, a boy who likes to have fun, a boy with questionable taste in clothing. But he is he's on death row, and he's been in the pound now. He's been at Animal Services. I know they don't like to say the pound, but I think the pound drives the point home. See, to me, the pound is the two dogs like escaping and the spotlights out and the dog catcher with the net running after him. But he's been there like 620. I'm going to say like 625 days now, or 626 days, somewhere in that neighborhood. He's been out there, and they have finally tagged him to be euthanized if they need space. And the sad thing is that you can't just not euthanize them at some point. If you have to have the space, and they don't seem to be going anywhere. And I for the life of me, I can't tell you why this guy has been there for 625 days. But he'd like your help. And it's $50. And I don't have a job right now. I'll have one Monday. I don't have a job now. But I will say this. If it will help, I'll pay. I mean, if that'll get him gone, I'll pay. Because he does need a home. And look at him, for crying out loud. And I'll say also this: if you're somebody who's been thinking about getting a dog, then you're gonna want a dog. Just like if you're thinking about it, trust me, you'll be better off with it. You'll enjoy it. Let's see. I'm not even a Marvel fan. I'm going on Tuesday to see Spider-Man in the S. Well, good. And she's got a spider web on there too. I just think it's a fun movie. And again, it's a movie to me that has a lot of appeal to a lot of people. The scenes with the characters, just as friends, I just think are good. And again, I warned this woman right here that she's probably going to cry at least 3 different times, and that's big. Caught a movie podcast on Saturday morning. G-Man was a guest, and he added a lot to that show. I can't remember the title though. It might have been the Deuce Cast. He's got a new movie podcast. And I had been running the Deuce Cast movie show in that slot on Saturday mornings. I think it's hilarious that they're still running it, because they shouldn't be. But again, they're not paying attention. But he's got a new, that Deuce Cast folded, unfortunately. These things happen, and people who do podcasts together, sometimes there are breaking points, and they had a breaking point. And one of the guys from that, Mikey and Garrison, started a podcast together, which, he was getting to that point where you kind of knew it was time for him to do it. I'd been encouraging him to start his podcast for a long time. And he just kind of didn't, and then boom, did. And so they've started, it's called Cinema Debrief. It is very, very good. It comes out every Monday. You can look it up on all your podcatchers. It's called Cinema Debrief. We were running that on Saturday mornings every week. But I had it in a rotation with a bunch of old Deuce Casts, but I was always making sure that the new one played every Saturday morning. So it was either a Cinema Debrief or a Deuce Cast. I don't know. But the beauty of it is when he does the show, he opens the show with, "I'm Garrison Rifen," which I think is the best, because I think that is 100% his calling card. I loved that he did that. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. But if you look up Cinema Debrief, he does a thing every week. And, the kid's good. I have to say, he's very good. Good morning, sir. Back from the land of great jerky. Let's see. I hope you have a great school year. Does G-Man play guitar? He doesn't. And I've tried to encourage him a couple of times. And it just never, it's the thing. I don't know why he doesn't do it. I've told him before, I think it would be a good outlet for you, but it just hasn't, for whatever reason, it hasn't stuck with him. He could, no doubt about it. He has the intellect to be able to do it, but he just chooses not to take it. I've tried to encourage him a few times. It just hasn't quite happened yet. A Deuce Cast was it? Okay. It was an old Deuce Cast. Gotcha. Garrison Mikey's, it's really good. It's they do a good job. All right, we've been on for 45 minutes, and I don't have a lot prepared for you this morning, but I do have some stuff, and we haven't gotten to any of it yet, even though we've been on forever and a day, just kind of chatting back and forth, which I got to be honest with you, that's one of the unexpected surprises of doing this stream, has been the fun back and forth chat that we've been able to do. And Sharon says, good morning from Rincon, number 178. Glad to have you there. Or as Art Madman Maring says, Rincon. So let's start with this one, because this is kind of bizarre, to be honest with you. I'll take Sharon's comment off there. All right, let's see. Let's go back to this. Husband and wife found shot to death after automated 911 call. How bizarre. Not Shaz bizarre. How bizarre. From a smartwatch. Now, one of the things I can tell you, these things nowadays, the smartwatches, will very much, they're geared to do that kind of thing. They will tell you, they'll give you a warning. Are you okay? We based on the activity of your watch, we don't think you're okay, and they'll call 911 for you. And in this particular instance, the smartwatch alerted authorities where it may not have happened otherwise. This is New Hanover County, North Carolina. Husband and wife found dead inside a North Carolina home early Thursday morning after an automated smartwatch emergency call was made to authorities. According to New Hanover County Sheriff's Office, deputies responded to a home on Rosegate Lane after emergency medical services requested law enforcement assistance. Inside, deputies found the bodies of the couple, both dead from gunshot wounds. Investigators say they believe the smartwatch automatically dialed 911, particularly because it sensed a hard fall or lack of heartbeat from one of its victims. And again, these are things they do. When EMS arrived, there was no response at the door. They contacted the sheriff's department. Deputies said they found the garage door open upon arrival before entering the home and finding the couple. Authorities said, and this is sad, the shooting appears to be an isolated incident, but their investigation remains ongoing. And that sounds like code to me for murder-suicide, which again is awful. But saw this headline this morning, kind of sad, but also a thing that kind of makes you proud. USS Georgia returns home for the final time, being brought in there. Gordon Jackson wrote the article, which makes sense. Gordon Jackson's kind of a Camden guy anyway. Ohio-class submarine USS Georgia's returned to its home port, Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay, for the final time. 42-year-old submarine has reached the end of its long service and will be declared inactive starting today. It's the first step toward decommissioning the boat. Amazing. It will remain at Kings Bay until July 2027 before it's sent to Norfolk, where it will be decommissioned. Lieutenant Junior Grade Mackenzie Park, a public affairs officer for Submarine Group 10, the command that oversees the submarines on base, said the two crews that alternate patrols on the boat will be reduced to a single crew through the inactivation process. So just kind of a sad thing, but it's a thing that happens over time. Now, I wanted to bring this one up. I mentioned this the other day that Camden was bragging about how many, I guess it was Camden. It was like Cumberland or somebody, wasn't it? Somebody in Camden. We were getting reports of record numbers of sea turtle nesting. Well, apparently it's everywhere in Georgia. Sea turtle nesting has crawled to an all-time high. The DNR reported this week when the number of loggerhead turtles surpassed 4,071 on coastal Georgia beaches, a new record was set, topping the previous mark set in 2022. As of yesterday morning, the Georgia Sea Turtle Cooperative listed 4,125 total nests in the state. Loggerhead nests make up 4,080 of them. And I think there's really only one thing to give credit to for this, and that is Buc-ee's. Right? Well, I mean, the lights at Buc-ee's, we were told the lights at Buc-ee's were going to kill all the turtles. And yet they're flourishing once Buc-ee's was put in. So to me, you can't say, well, the Buc-ee's have been put in and everything's going to go to hell now. And things actually get much, much, much better. I think we got to give the lights at Buc-ee's credit now. Obviously, they made it much better than it was before. The sad thing is, you still see paragraphs in here, challenges await them. Among the most serious of those challenges is lighting along the beaches that may misorient hatchlings and make them crawl towards the dunes instead of the ocean. And Michael Hall wrote this, and I don't know, he's doing his best, I guess, but it just, environmental advocates and scientists have called for stronger local ordinances in Glenn County to require turtle-friendly lighting on St. Simons and Sea Island. I got to tell you something. This seems to me to be evidence that we don't need it. And here's the thing about the environmental wacko crowd. Nothing's ever good. Everything is doom and gloom. Nothing can ever. They should be celebrating this remarkable achievement of a record number of sea turtle nests. But instead, we still have so many challenges. Oh, it's not fair. It's not right. It's terrible. It's awful. Oh, it's horrible. The world is terrible. It's dying. Again, and think about this. They haven't gotten all of the light things they want. And yet we're in record territory. Does that not tell you that maybe their concerns were a bit overblown? I mean, it just seems obvious to me. Why does it not seem obvious to anyone else? I don't get it. All right, let's see. Yeah, I get it. It's funny to me too. You got to give the lights at Buc-ee's the credit, right? You got to give them credit. Sea turtle invasion. They want to go to Buc-ee's. Sub lasted over 40 years. I know. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Sad to see the sub go. It is. It's a sad thing. It's a sad day. But we should be happy because we have record numbers of turtles. Sea turtles. And even the headline, sea turtles are nesting record numbers this season. I hopefully I cut some of that off because I realized that sentence makes no sense there. Yeah, there it is. Sea turtles are nesting record numbers this summer. Species continues to face challenges. Again, we can't just be happy about something. And we also can't admit we were wrong about something that we're deeply committed to. Why do we want to get rid of the lighting? Well, the lighting is prosperity. The lighting is capitalism. The lighting is people are making money. Can't have that. People are, businesses growing. Can't have that. But the reality was those lights are there. Those lights were there. They are there. They will still be there. And yet they have record turtle nesting this season. Think about that. I think that's huge. And again, if these guys really believed the things that they say, they would be happy. They would, at just one time, they would be happy. They would be happy that Florida's not underwater right now, per Al Gore. They would be happy that New York City is not underwater right now. They would be happy that we have not faced the worldwide famines that we were told we were going to face due to overpopulation. But they're never happy about any of this stuff. They seem almost angry or bitter that none of their predictions materialize when they should be happy to be wrong about this stuff. And again, it tells you just kind of the mindset and the attitude there. Let's see what we've got. Oh, slower tourism season begins in the Isles. This is interesting because if you read Scott McQuaid's stuff, and I got to, Scott and I had lunch about a month before the blade fell from my heart. And one of the things we were talking about was we got to get you on the program. I got to tell you, I really like Scott McQuaid a lot. I know there's some people, he brings too many people to St. Simons, but that was his job. What it says to me is Scott McQuaid's really good at his job. You give him a job, he goes and does it well. But Scott McQuaid, I like a lot. And one of the things we were talking about was he'd kind of been absent from the show for a while, and he was still listening because it was like he can still recite things that he's one of the guys who paid attention to the program more than a lot of people who say they were daily listeners to the program. I mean, he really internalizes these things. The guy's got a really, really sharp intellect. But listen to what he's saying here, because I think this is interesting. We'll start at the beginning on the article where Gordon Jackson says, while the Golden Isle sees plenty of tourists throughout the year, there are times that are busier than others. This is not one of them. Scott McQuaid, president and CEO of the Golden Isles Convention and Visitors Bureau, said August is the fourth slowest month of the year, which during the height of summer is a big missed opportunity. Now, I don't know if you can read between the lines on this. And I don't know if Scott will cop to this, because Scott is also very discreet. Although we haven't been able to increase occupancy in our hotels and vacation rentals over the last decade, undoubtedly the early... Oh, no, he does say it. Okay, sorry. I thought he was just saying it between the lines, but he does say, undoubtedly the early school dates in Georgia have a major impact. We actually see an uptick in occupancy return in the month of September and the boost that comes from Labor Day weekend. So, like Savannah's school starts Monday. Like Savannah SCCPSS starts Monday. I think Effingham starts, I want to say Wednesday. Glenn County starts next Thursday. And a lot of people, every year, people go, this is not right. We shouldn't be starting till like Labor Day. And the reality is that this town very much relies on young people during tourist season to prop up a lot of these businesses that are tourist based, especially restaurants, hotels, that kind of thing. We need those school kids who are in the workforce doing that, and the ones who are available full time during the summer. And so, yeah, what Scott McQuaid is saying is we start school too dadgum early. And as a consequence, we do not do as well as a community. I know people are going, tourism, money over everything. No. But the health of the community is dependent upon how well it does financially, right? I mean, it's got to prosper. And, I'll be honest with you. I mean, Scott has kind of said this subtly before, but this may be one of the more overt ways in which I think he said it. But I know it's been a perspective of his for a long time because I've been able to read between the lines with him. But he flat out says here, undoubtedly the early school start dates in Georgia have a major impact. In other words, people like New York, most of those schools don't start until Labor Day. Those people are still on summer vacation all through the month of August, and they want to go somewhere. But we're telling them, sorry, folks, parks closed. Moose out front should have told you. And that's it. And I don't think we should be doing that. I think we should. I think the school system and the county and the Convention and Visitors Bureau ought to all have a big conversation about what is in the best interest of the community as a whole. And I think the schools board should kind of take a look at some extra calendars and say, here's a way we can make this work. And let's go back to Thomas Sowell, where Sowell says there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs, which means, because people are thinking, there are solutions to all of these things. So we just start school later. Well, you can't just start school later. Something has to happen. Something has to give. Do you extend it into tourist season on the other side, which is a problem? Do you shorten breaks and vacations during the school year in order to get the school year started around Labor Day and ended around Memorial Day? Because, somewhere it does have to give. There do have to be sacrifices. There do have to be trade-offs. As, again, Thomas Sowell will say, there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. But I think it's worth at least looking at a calendar and saying, let's see if there are ways we can make that happen. Let's see if there are ways we can actually make these things that they can actually work on everybody's behalf, basically. All right. Yes, absolutely. Glad to be with you in the mornings again. Glad to be here in the mornings again. Only thing I see going down is the price of turtle eggs. It's terrible. The supply, though, right? The supply, outrage addicts and controversy junkies. And we've got a lot of that. Glad you could be here. Very glad. Thank you, sir. You can be such a drama queen sometimes. You can be happy about the rebound and sea turtle nesting, at the same time still concerned about the plight of the sea turtles. Maybe we should install Bucky-style lighting at the new Coast Guard beach development. Maybe we should. It certainly didn't hurt anything. I don't know why I'm the drama queen. Why am I the drama queen for this? I mean, literally, and see, here's where you're missing the boat. Is I think you have your bubble, and you think everybody is thinking like you and being, and behaving like you and responding like you, and you do great. But when I say I can be happy about the rebound of sea turtle nest, the problem is the people who are out there screaming about the lights are not happy about the sea turtle nest. They're not happy about the sea turtle numbers. You don't see them celebrating. They're complaining, and they're complaining about things that clearly did not have an effect. You can still be concerned about the plight of the sea turtles. I am concerned about the plight of the sea turtles, but is the lighting part of the plight of the sea turtles? I have zero evidence. I have seen zero evidence to suggest that the lighting is a problem for the sea turtles. The only thing I've ever heard is may, could, possibly, And yet we still have record numbers. So that tells me that the lighting is not the problem. Done. Let's see. I'm sure the schools have a monetary incentive to, I don't know. I don't know that they really do. I mean, they're required to have 190 days. So they're required on that front. But monetary incentive to extend the school year, I don't know that they do, because again, there are other places where this doesn't happen. I point to this, and I probably did this, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, but I went and looked up the top rated school systems in the country, and most of them were in New York State. And, but like, I don't know, I forget how many of them I went through, but I went and looked at the calendars for as many of them as I could find. And almost none of them started before Labor Day. Now, do I think that starting before Labor Day means that they're better school systems, or the quality of the school systems and the start after Labor Day are related to each other? No. But what I am saying is clearly starting before Labor Day didn't help. So, I don't know why we can't just at least sit and look at a calendar and say, this is why we can't do it. It seems like a reasonable, normal thing, but maybe I'm just nuts on that front. Maybe I'm just a drama queen. Office Mate's final command. What's the Georgia? It's that's not good. That's not good. I hope you're lecturing in the office. German POWs during World War II was amazed how much electricity we consumed. They said it was wasteful. But yet, look what we've built with it. Look what we've done with it. Look at the nation. Look at the economy that we've built with it. Let's see. We started at the end of August and ended at the end of May. We did start at the end of August. When I was in school, we didn't start. And I remember very distinctly several years where we would start on Monday, and then the next week was Labor Day. And, so it was always right before Labor Day, the end of August. And now, again, next week, we're in single digits of August. They're going to be in school. Savannah will be the 3rd. Effingham, I believe, is the 5th. Brunswick is the 6th. Glenn, 6th. Not good. But you back off on the number of school days that are ineffective, often everything after spring testing. And that's a very legitimate point as well. That's got to get through the legislature. And again, let's go back to grant money. I mentioned yesterday, grants are evil. I will continue to say grants are evil. A great example of that is that the money that comes in, the government money that comes in, because people keep their kids in school for 190 days, or is it 100? I'm sorry, it's 180 days. I'm sorry. The teachers are 190 days. The school kids are 180 days. I apologize for that. I messed that up. I don't think anybody corrected me on that. Anyway, 180 days of school. Sorry. But, there's government money that comes with keeping kids in school for 180 total days. And there's government money that keeps, the population, the attendance, all of that. There's government money that comes with it, which means you do things maybe aren't necessary or effective in order to get the money, because the money is so important. That's why grants are evil. Again, you can say, we do really good things with these grants. Yes, but the things you have to do to get the grants, and then your continued reliance on grants, and then the expansion of grants, that's what makes them evil. Again, even Satan can show up and look like he's giving you a benefit at first. Let's see, we can do both, put people over animals, find about. Yeah, people are over animals. They should be. Plight of the Sea Turtles. Never heard that song. I think it was an HBO show for a while. Isn't Scott McQuay the guy who wanted to bring a local production company to get more movies to come to the area? Whatever happened with that? I don't know that he was out there soliciting that. I had a really, really interesting conversation with a guy yesterday who has done production, who has been in the industry, who is a local resident, who is a good guy, who's a listener to the program, about why exactly, because there was talk a while back of New Hope becoming a movie studio, and, why that will never really happen. I don't know that McQuaid was doing that because he's not really involved in economic development per se. He's involved in tourism and that kind of thing. But he is involved in the media production end of things because it does bring things and people to the area. But I don't know that he was. I don't know that a local production company is a good way to put that. There was a proposed film studio for the New Hope area, but again, it's one of those things where we saw this with the Life in the Wild Park, where they make these gigantic promises, and then they get certain zoning because of the gigantic promises they've made, and then when they get the zoning, they go to the thing they actually wanted to do, and we've seen it time and again. You remember the Wild Animal Park that is now all pretty much neighborhoods? Same thing. Still looking for that first dead sea turtle in Buc-ee's parking lot. Even the roundabout at 17 and 99. You're not going to see it again. Okay, so there you go. I said 180. So apparently the required number is 178 days. 178. And how long ago did she post that? 5 minutes ago. Okay. I don't know what that means, but okay. But I do remember that when I was in school, we didn't start till almost August. We had an actual summer break till almost August? No, almost September. Students go 180 days unless they use a waiver. Yeah, 180. Okay, so people are now saying it. Okay, because it occurred to me for a second there. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, it's 180. 190 is the teachers. But yeah, 180 days. Is it necessary? Once they're done with that required yearly testing, they're just kind of in limbo. Students are showing up for school because they have to show up for school, and parents no longer respect the necessity of going to school because there are so many unnecessary school days. And it's just, we should really look at the calendar, but also, again, and Rick, you're a legislator. We should really look at, is 180 necessary? Is 180 really the thing that is going to get these kids educated? We have a lot of wasted days. We had a lot of wasted Fridays going into holiday weekends and that kind of thing. We have wasted weeks after testing is done for the year. And there may be a way that you get rid of that, and all of a sudden you have more time in the summer to operate these businesses. And again, it's one of those things. I'm all for being educated, but I also will tell you, I did not like school. So, in my mind, it's always kind of a way of, how do we actually get kids educated, but at the same time, not give them the experience that I had, which was not liking school. And that's tough. School days, 180, 190. I don't quite hear the numbers. 180 is the number. Let's be kind as friends. I knew a Grant. He wasn't evil. I shouldn't generalize. I'm sorry about that. But yes, Grants are evil. I wrote a paper in high school about the USS Georgia cost overruns. Very nice. Very nice. Some systems have gone to a 4-day school week, but students have a longer day. Yeah, we talked about that earlier this week, I think, because there's a school system, I think it's Chattooga County, if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I think it's Chattooga County that goes to the 4-day week, and they've done the 4-day week for like 14 years or something like that. With a couple of years they took off. And, I asked the question because it seems awfully disruptive to home life to do that. And I said, but the parents must not be raising their hackles about it because it's been that way for off and on for 14 years. And several people sent notes saying, no, the parents hate it. They've given up fighting it because it's been so long. So that is interesting, though. And you do have to ask yourself, is it for the kids or is it for something else? Grants are evil. They control and make the price of everything go up because you get the grant money at least. And again, they control your behavior because you become dependent upon the grant money. I know people don't like that, but everybody, like the schools have it, the city has it, county has it. You have a full-time grant writer. The county, we not only have a grant writer, but we also have a lobbyist who's, I've been told the success story for him is that he's gotten us a lot of grants. And it would be amazing. I used to say this when they first built the public safety complex, and I took a tour of it, and it was amazing. It was amazing. Beautiful facility, public safety complex. And I left it and I thought to myself, people will see this and they'll see all these amazing computers and all these, this amazing technology. And they'll say, gosh, I wish I had something like that at my house. And then I started thinking, what if you actually got to keep your own money and you could do something like that? What happens then? Jesse's the only worst thing. Oh, well, we're going to have a different conversation about that. We'll move on from that one. A retired principal from Metro Atlanta, North Carolina passed legislation. No schools can start until the third Monday in August. See, that seems like a reasonable compromise to push it back a few weeks. I mean, really. Why not? Why not? Yes, September. Yes. I wonder if some parents are okay with it because it means less spent on childcare. But I would think it means more time spent on childcare because you've got one day every week. You've got to figure out how to cover it for the kids. You've got 2 full-time parents working. I don't know how that works. Just a thought. Power generation system. I knew this was going to come up at some point. I knew this was going to come up. A nuclear reactor, 45 megawatts, could easily power 2 data centers. Right. Absolutely right. Original reason systems moved up their school year. Teat no? What? Systems can utilize a waiver to shorten the year. What does Teat no? That's obviously some kind of an autocorrect thing. Isn't money to school systems based on daily? Some of it is, yes. Some of it absolutely is. They can use a waiver to shorten the school year. I don't know that shouldn't be a thing that's examined. Obviously the danger you have is you shorten the school year and then you have a hurricane. I get it. But I think we should talk about it. I mean, I really do. I think it would be a boon for the community. I think it would be a boon for the students getting work experience. I witnessed a few students getting some work experience yesterday, and I think they need more experience. Wesley, just thought, why don't we make the Career Academy expand into middle school? Because in middle school, I'd already known what I wanted to do. Just a thought. I don't know that it's bad to give opportunities to kids. And the Career Academy has been a success. But I will also say this: you're a rare breed. Most people don't know what they want to do when they're your age in middle school. They just don't. It was, years ago. I don't know if you remember this or not. Maybe 20 years ago, they did a thing where they were all of the middle schools would be a specialty school. So if you wanted a career in the arts, you went to this school, and if you wanted a career in athletics, you went to this school, and if you wanted a career in this and that, and a STEM career. And I hated that kind of thing. But the reason I hated it was because, again, you were forcing teenagers or preteens, 12 and 13-year-olds, you were forcing them to make career decisions, and I don't think they're ready for it. I mean, when you're in college, the number of people who get 2 years into college and still aren't quite sure what they want their major to be, it's a thing. It's a thing. So, but Mrs. Rifen says there has been talk of expanding the Career Academy into at least 8th grade. But one issue has been transportation. And transportation was the issue early on with the Career Academy too. I'll be honest with you, we've got good people in our school system. They could work that out. I don't know that the entire middle school needs it, but I don't know that 8th grade's a bad idea. I'll say that. Sorry, I didn't read that before I sent the office mate's final command was the Georgia. Oh, that's neat. Then okay, I thought you were saying the office mates didn't know what the Georgia was. Haralson County's been on a 4-day week for a long time. And again, like I said, I think Chattooga County is as well. We must get across to some groups that getting an education does not equal white privilege. Oh, well, that's where you're wrong, Philip. I have the list here. I'm glad you brought that up. These are the things, and this is an actual handout that is given out in corporate America. White culture. And these are the things we have to avoid because we do not want to feed white culture. So please, if you would, this is why I always say, just like the left, there's so much cringe in the belief system of a liberal. Because again, there's just so much, it's not even subtle racism in the belief system of a liberal. It's actually right there. I want to say in full color, but I guess that would be a problem. So here it is. Here are your issues that need to be avoided because white dominant culture, the handout says, or whiteness, refers to the way white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time. Oh, we can't have white people be considered normal. That's strike one. And are now considered standard practices in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we've all internalized some aspects of white culture, including people of color. So here are the aspects of white culture that must be avoided. Rugged individualism, self-reliance, independence and autonomy, highly valued and rewarded. Individuals assume to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. Family structure, the nuclear family. And again, remember, these are things to be avoided because they are white. Father, mother, 2.3 children is the ideal social unit. It is. That's how we built our society, actually. Husband is the breadwinner and head of household. Why? I don't know that that's 100% the case anymore. Wife is homemaker and subordinate to the husband. You got some angry women who've never been married before writing this stuff. Children should have their own rooms and be independent. That's right. It's whiteness to have the belief that children should have their own rooms and be independent. Emphasis on scientific method. Now, please remember, these are Democrats, the ones who always tell you that you are unscientific. Emphasis on scientific method. Objective, rational, linear thinking is white culture. Cause and effect relationships. Quantitative emphasis. History. Oh, can't have history. The primacy of Western and Judeo-Christian tradition. Yes. You know why? Because it founded this country and has become the greatest country on earth. So there's something to that Western tradition. If not, some other tradition would have taken it over. The Protestant work ethic. It is wrong and white to believe that hard work is the key to success. It is wrong to believe that you should work before you play. Religion, Christianity is the norm. It is the norm. That's the thing. Like when I see people go, we've got to get rid of heteronormativity. Well, when 93% of the population is heterosexual, yes, hetero is norm. That is the normative. The normativity is heterosexuality. Sorry. Let's see. Status, power, and authority. Wealth equals worth. Well, technically, your job is who you are. Respect authority. Oh yeah, we can't have these stupid white people teaching us terrible things like respecting authority. Future orientation. Plan for the future. And understand again, not only are they saying that this is whiteness, but they're also saying this is bad. And telling people to plan for the future is not bad. Delayed gratification, which means I can't have just everything I want right now. Tomorrow will be better. Progress is always best. You stupid white people, what's wrong with you? Time. Follow rigid time schedules. Time is viewed as a commodity. Again, if I say I'm going to be here at 11:45, and somebody's not there at 11:45, yeah, it kind of perturbs me. Sometimes I'm that guy who's late. But it's having a decent amount of respect for somebody else, I would think. I mean, isn't that how you would take that? Aesthetics based on European culture. I think we've broken way beyond that now. I think we're way past that. I mean, when Lupita Nyong'o is cast as Helen of Troy, and she's a beautiful woman, I don't think we're in that stage where all aesthetics are based on European culture at this point. Steak and potatoes, bland is best. Women's beauty based on blonde and thin. Barbie. That like ideals of beauty come from what appeal to men. Normally, standard. Though there are exceptions. But by and large, if men like women, then that's going to be a standard of beauty. And thin has been one of those things that men, men seem to like. Blonde is a thing they seem to like. A little too blonde's a little too much for me, but, man's attractiveness based on economic status, power, and intellect. But again, these are things that women just respond to. It's not a cultural thing. That's a biological thing. Holidays based on Christian religions. Wonder why. This is bad and white. Based on white history and male leaders. That's not true at this point. Justice based on English common law. Yes, because it was the best system at the time and it was improvable, and we did that. Protect property and entitlements. Yes, that's terrible and white. Intent counts. Competition. Be number one. Win at all costs. Be number one. That's whiteness, and it should be avoided. Again, the racism that is carried in this, not just anti-white racism, but saying all of these things that are basic, normal, standard, decent things that if our civilization didn't exist would still be the things that would get you ahead. Planning ahead, being on time, working hard, being competitive, and insinuating that people who aren't white don't and can't do those things. Again, if I were a black man, I would be furious at the left for the way they think about you. Communication, the King's English rules. Oh, by the way, I forgot, in competition, decision making is a trait of whiteness. Don't make decisions. And the majority rules when whites have power. Communication, the King's English rules. That's right. You know why? Tower of Babel. If we're going to communicate and we're going to express ideas, we have to speak the same language. Nothing says the language can't evolve, as it clearly has. But we have to speak the same language. Be polite. Be polite is one of the things. I've skipped a lot of these, by the way, because I didn't want to take up the whole time on this whole thing. But I was glad that Philip brought up the white privilege thing, because I've been sitting on that one for probably a week now. All of the different ways in which our white privilege affects us, because the culture has that whiteness that must be avoided. Got to get rid of the whiteness. 912. No, not 912. I just almost went into talk show mode. Isn't that great? Let's see. Let me go back into where we were. Yeah, there we go. Jerry says, at the same time, still be concerned about the plight of the sea turtles while not agreeing that the evidence exists showing a threat from Bucky's. Thank you. Yes, that's my point. It's nothing to do with drama queen. It has to do with the fact that you can be concerned that sea turtles need to be protected while at the same time saying, hey, we were wrong about those lights. Very easy. Very easy. I was on a 3-day schedule my senior year of high school. The school just didn't know you. I will tell you this, my last semester in college, and I think I made the dean's list that semester. My last semester in college, I did a thing that I tried for 4.5 years to do. And I finally did it that last semester, which was, we had 2 different kinds of class schedules. We had Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes and Tuesday, Thursday classes. And I managed to work it out so that I had all Tuesday, Thursday classes. Best semester of my life. Because I could do whatever I wanted to the rest of the time. And, I'd do homework and that kind of thing and prepare and that kind of, but in the overall, didn't have to do anything except Tuesday and Thursday. And Tuesday was a really long day because the class started at 8 in the morning and I think it ended at like 5. And there were very few breaks in between, but that was fine. And then Thursday, that 2 to 5 class didn't happen. So Thursday I was done at 2. It was the best. I got to tell you, I wish any young person could have that kind of freedom once in their lives. And the great thing was, like, the weekend before Thanksgiving is when Chancellor Rodriguez got married. And I was one of the guys at the wedding. So I helped walk some people in, that kind of thing. And so we left Friday. I left Friday and met him there because I had him class that Friday. And Saturday, they spent the night at his wife, Ruth's, his fiance at the time, Ruth's grandmother's house, which was great. Chancellor and I got up the next morning. He took me up to a place where he liked to get milkshakes in that area. We had milkshakes, and then we did the wedding. And then after the wedding, they went and did their honeymoon thing. And I went home, and I got to stay home for all of Thanksgiving week. And I didn't have to be back till Tuesday. It was nice. It was a good run. I'll just say that. 39, still don't know what you want to do when you grow. A lot of people like that. Oh, I'm sure you get an earful of the weird liberal anti-whiteness. I'm sure you get an earful of that. They build nuke power plants for aircraft carriers and submarines that power those vessels just fine. Not necessary to build mega plants to power local areas. Been doing it for quite a while now. And that's a very good point, by the way. We could use more nuclear power. It doesn't have to be a gigantic, Plant Vogel type of reactor. I remember going to Bryan County for high school in 2000. Career planning only meant choosing no prep, technical school prep, or college prep, and was 100% determined by your grades and attendance. Yeah. We got to start back stuffing these dorks in lockers. 100%. White is not a color. There you go. Let's see. A new school board member suggested moving the school start date later by shortening breaks and holidays. He was blasted by fellow school board members for suggesting it. Parents and teachers want those extended breaks. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'd still like to see it, though. I'd still like to see it. That is straight from the Bible, not white privilege. I get it. This isn't saying nothing bland about my white culture. One valid reason for it: kids can't get a rhythm or continuity going before a break occurs. You're right, and that's and a lot of that. No, you're very right on that, and that really gives a good excuse for compressing the school year a little bit. You still want 180 days. Let's do it in a little shorter amount of time. The DSA ideals being wrapped up in a pretty white hatred package. That's a great way to put that, Joy. Great way to put it. Talking about white culture in a negative fashion is a scam that's designed to destroy the country from within. Yeah. It's designed to create the universal enemy, which is the white guy. And it's sad that that's what the left feel they want to do, but that's their thing. Suicidal empathy. I read the book. Who wrote the Gad Saad wrote the book. I read Suicidal Empathy this year, actually. It's a really good read. You should read it. Gad Saad, Gadsaad. He's a Canadian professor who I don't know why he's Canadian at this point. I don't know why he hasn't moved on to America, to tell you the truth. Left exhibits insanity, mental, emotional illness at its finest. True. I go to work. What? Oh, going to work at 7 and get off at like 2. Yeah, see, that's good. That's good. I used to go in at 4 and was just still working all the time anyway. But along with beaver nuggets, they serve turtle tots. I like this. Oh, interesting. Tried to shorten the school year in the legislature. Didn't happen. Interesting. And then T-Bone 1171 says, howdy. To which, of course, we do also respond, howdy. What else do we have on tap for today? Because I know I brought a bunch of different things in. Oh, yes. A third former Georgia. And let me go ahead and ask this question. And I'll start it before I start reading it, and then I'll read it, and you tell me, what is missing from this article? Okay, the question again, what is missing from this article? A third former Georgia lawmaker has pleaded guilty to unemployment assistance fraud in federal court in connection with the COVID-19 pandemic. Sharon Henderson, 67, of Covington, pleaded guilty Thursday to making false statements to fraudulently obtain thousands of dollars from the federal government through a program established by Congress to help workers through the crisis, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, which, by the way, is a grant. While running for and holding political office, Representative Henderson was fleecing taxpayers, lying to steal money from federal programs intended to help people who lost their jobs due to the pandemic. U.S. Attorney Theodore S. Hertzberg said in a statement. 2 other former state representatives. Okay, they finally did it here. Okay, and when I read it this morning, I skipped over this. But they really don't say it, though. 2 other former state representatives, see how they do this, also Democrats. As if to suggest they said earlier that she was a Democrat, which they did not, were previously convicted of similar unemployment assistance fraud. Karen L. Bennett pleaded guilty January 1st to making false statements to obtain $13,940 in unemployment benefits, and Dexter Sharper pleaded guilty March 11th to making false statements collecting $13,825, according to Hertzberg's office in the Northern District of Georgia. Henderson pleaded guilty to collecting $17,811. So, Yeah. So the answer to the question was they never mentioned she's a Democrat. And they sort of do in a backhanded way in paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, paragraph 4. They finally do there. Does Appalachian Man make comments? I know where he lives in New York, in North Carolina. My mother-in-law was born in Lansing, where he lives. I was right up the road. I don't think we've heard from him. I don't know if he knows we're on this, but maybe we are. Woke thinks woke empathy denotes intelligence. That's true. That's true. Party identification. You are correct, Rick. You were the first one on the chat who came up with that. But yeah, so they don't mention. Later they say, two other people also Democrats. So that sends the suggestion that she's a Democrat, but there's actually no overt statement that she's a Democrat. But every one of the people in the Georgia state legislature, and I will tell you this, and this is well-informed stuff. If they wanted to dismantle the Democrat Party in Florida, they massively abused the system. Massively. The party itself massively abused COVID protections. And they could go after them. They really could. This format is more like a living room conversation. It is. It's fun, though. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I've really been having a lot of fun doing this. Again, what are we? An hour and 28. South Georgia 172. Glad to have you. Asked Diallo about GP using mini nukes. He said too experimental still. How long have they been in subs? Yeah, and Diallo's a great guy. Diallo does a great job. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I feel like we've experimented with the technology. And in fact, I would think if we can put it in a sub or a ship or an aircraft carrier, that kind of thing would be safer than one we would put on the ground somewhere, because it would have to withstand, everything that it would have to withstand out there on the ocean. Wartime conditions, you would have to think that they would design these things so that if heaven forbid something were sank or blown to smithereens or whatever, that we wouldn't just flood the area with nuclear materials. So yeah, I would think that we could literally just port a small nuclear generator over to using it on the land. Public missed that radio voice and airways and the local news. I miss doing it. Walter, let me ask you something. Are you still, we talked about a thing a year ago. We talked about a thing you and I did at Grandy's. You said you were thinking about something. I'm not going to tell everybody what you were thinking about because it's your thing. You announce it in your time, but I'm just curious. Are you still thinking about that? Drop me a note. Let me know. I'd like to know. All right, let's see what else is next. Disabled veteran with Parkinson's disease arrested twice for misuse of 911. Oh, this is, I saw this story this morning and I just was like, oh, this is not, I mean, you got to think this is an elderly person. This is a person with a disease that is degenerative. 68-year-old, this is Midway, by the way, Shay Schrader. 68-year-old fully disabled veteran with Parkinson's disease was arrested and jailed twice after calling 911 140 times over 9 months. And it wasn't because her air conditioner is broken. Diane Garish lives alone in Midway. Court records show her son lived with her until early 2025. A Liberty County judge ruled in her favor in an eviction case against her son in December 2024, and the 911 calls began shortly after he left. Liberty County dispatch logs show from June 2025 to March 2026, there were 140 911 calls to Garish's home. Recordings show when she called, she was cold. She called when she was hot. She couldn't reach her water bottle or her medication in the middle of the night. In one call, she told a dispatcher she was stuck in her bed. Peter Robin, a friend of Garish, said he repeatedly warned her to stop calling 911. I advised her so many times, stop calling 911. She just couldn't get that through her head. If they're out at your house answering a frivolous call, they're going to be prevented from helping someone that's actually in dire need of help. So, there are services. And there are homes. I mean, I hate to say it, but there are homes. I feel like I feel like arresting her may not be the solution there. But clearly, I mean, you can't let her just keep doing it. Yes. But at the same time, it may be time for a service. There are grants from what I hear. So it's sad. Don't forget, if you're in Savannah, Monday, first day of school, SCCPSS, and the speed cameras will be back on. Good luck, Jim. You have 5 seconds. Police chase ends in crash in the area of Louisiana Avenue. Savannah PD confirms that was Thursday afternoon. Most police chases do end in a crash, so that shouldn't be a shock there either. Let's see. Got to go to the comments. Come on, there we go. Yeah, I don't know. The computer got sluggish out of nowhere on me. Okay, there we go. There we go. But if you think data centers are tough to cite, yeah, I know. Nuke plants, yeah, absolutely. Small shipboard nuclear plants. I know. Yeah, you do know a guy. You absolutely know a guy. Yes, Dr. Joseph Mengele was intelligent while lacking empathy. Yes, absolutely. Someone from Adult Protective should have been called to help. Arresting her wasn't the issue, but she did need to stop. No, I totally agree. I mean, you can't just go, hey, I'm cold, 911. Hey, I'm hot, 911. Hey, I can't reach the bottle, 911. But at the same time, I think we have so many agencies out there that it's hard for me to believe that there's not a way that we could have gotten that there couldn't have been assistance for her in some way. Forced intervention, sometimes the only way to get the attention of available services. Oh, so you're saying that the arrests were a way to get the services to notice. Oh, that's interesting. I hate that they did it twice, though. Just don't like it. But I understand where you're coming from on that, too. So let's remind people, again, very soon, flock foilers will become everywhere. They'll be ubiquitous. Everyone will have one. Brantley County Wildfire Swinging for Hope Golf Tournament, September 19th. It is a 4-man scramble at the City at Club Lost Plantation. I think that's City Club at Lost Plantation, but that's not the best design. But anyway, it is coming up September 19th. They are looking for sponsors. They are looking for people to be involved. This, again, is to help people rebuild after the fires in Brantley County. Which is happening. People are actually rebuilding. They've actually rebuilt more in Brantley County than all of Pacific Palisades at this point. More has been rebuilt in Brantley than all of the California wildfire stuff since last year. But also, note that people are rebuilding in Brantley County and not having their land stolen from them to become data centers. I'm not going to say I told you that was some wacky, nutty hysteria, but it was some wacky, nutty hysteria. This is actually an opportunity for you to do something to help people. It'll be September 19th. That is a Saturday. Clear off your calendar. If you're a golfer, you can certainly be part of this. And don't forget, despite his poor fashion sense, Gaston is a young man who has been in animal services for, I think, 625 days now, and he has been put on the euthanasia list. Gaston would really, really not like to be on the euthanasia list. Gaston would like to be your buddy. He would like to be the guy that protects you and looks out for your house. Gaston would enjoy being, look at this tongue. Look at that tongue. That is a tongue that probably gives really good kisses. That is a tongue that could lap up some ice cream like you wouldn't believe. But you gotta go get him to prove that. And we know he likes the sandwiches because there's Gaston eating a sandwich. And as I've said many, many times, and I've said it this week many times, and I'll say it again many times, I know people like their purebred and they like to go to the breeder and buy the thing. And look, I got a friend who does breeding, and he's a great guy and he's a great breeder, and he has great customers. And, he doesn't even consider them customers. They're family to him. But if you just want a dog, I love what you get at the kennel, at Animal Control, Animal Services. They're just loyal. They just got that tramp street smarts about them. They've been without the human interaction, They love the human interaction for the most part. They crave the human interaction. And then when you put them in a situation where you're going to give them that, you got something that's loyal. That thing, when that thing recognizes it's a member of your pack, which is a few months in, you're going to be delighted at this new addition to your home. That's all there is to it. All there is to it. Is this a left or right-handed cup? Well, this is a no-handed cup because it doesn't have the handle. See, the other one yesterday was a right-handed cup because the handle over here. But this is, I could hold this with either hand and still have the logo out. See, but I didn't put the lid on right today. There you go. So, is today National Mutt Day? Are you kidding me? Is that right? Come on now. See, I don't keep track with all the national because it's something, every day it's 1,000 different, some national days. So I try not to mess with it. Yeah, July 31st. July is today. Yeah, today is the 31st. I didn't write that in my notes. I had it as the 30th. Whoops. There you go. But so July 31st and December 2nd, National Mutt Day. Well, that's all the more reason because this guy ain't purebred. I love a good mutt. Ours are they still here? No, they're not. Ours have both been in here this morning, bugging me during the show, wanting some attention. Lady more so than Sweetie, because Sweetie just likes to be near you. She doesn't need you pawing all over her. Lady wants you to paw all over her all the time. But yeah, this guy ain't purebred. Look at him. Look at that. And I also like the crazy eye on the while he's rolling around, because that just means he is just having a ball. And again, having a ball. And again, poorly dressed. But still, how can you say no to this guy? Gaston. I have not heard an update. I hope he's okay. I would hate to come on this stream and say to people, Gaston lost the fight. So I just say, if you're out there and you've been thinking about it, Gaston might be your guy. And you might not even know Gaston's your guy. You need to go meet Gaston is what you need to do. Go meet Gaston. A dog is unnecessary as Hulk in Spider-Man. Oh, stop it. Just stop it. Don't be bitter. First nuclear powered carrier is USS Enterprise. And sir, it is the Enterprise. Commissioned 1960, served the fleet well. Much more proof do you need? Well, there you go. Exactly. Bark, gold chain. I don't know what's up with that. That's his baller outfit. To me, that is he's going through his Zach phase from Saved by the Bell. But Gaston seems like a good kid. I'm going to be out there next week because part of my gig is going to be getting attention for some of these animals out here. And we have to kind of craft a strategy for that, because I will tell you, I'm not a fan of, and I think most people aren't a fan of, the hysterical, they're all going to die if you don't do something. We have to make people want a dog, not take one grudgingly. And I think there are a million reasons why you can want a dog. And we just have to make sure people understand that. That's all there is to it. And yeah, we had a little bit of that yesterday too. But yeah, so go see Gaston. If you can make it down there, go to Animal Services, see Gaston. He's been in there way too long. Let's see. FYI, you can always change the dog's name if you don't know. We did. Here's the funny thing. Part of the appeal. All right. So when we got Sweetie, and Sweetie was the first, and Sweetie I campaigned for 23 years for a dog. And we finally, I can tell you this. We first got married. I mean, I was like, okay, we're living in an apartment, and we built a house. Thank you, Driggers. It was a great house. It was great. There's a cop living in it now. And I will tell you, every so often I'm out in that neck of the woods and I just kind of ride by and go, there's my house. We built that. Or we had it built. We're the reason it looks the way it looks. And we got some good years in it. But we got a house. I went, oh, well, now we can get a dog. And Mrs. Reifen's like, no, we can't get a dog. And I was like, why? It's like, because we got little kids and we got to make sure the kids are taken care of. And we're just so busy because we are, we're both full-time employees. We both work a lot. And with the radio station job, I worked 2 hours or 2 jobs worth of work, whether people realize it or not. Because again, I did have 2 jobs. My job was to do Straight Talk, which had me there at 4 a.m. until 10:30ish or so. And then after that, my job was to run 4 other radio stations, including GIG, so 5 total. And that's a whole different ball of wax. That's a whole different set of responsibilities. And so, yeah, I mean, we were busy. I mean, that wasn't my job then, all of that, but I was doing a lot of different things. I was doing multiple air shifts and running several stations, and we were just all busy. And she didn't feel like we could give the time to a dog that they deserve. And I still was just kind of on her every time we'd be around a dog. I'd, hey, there's a dog. There's a dog. There's one. Because it was this weird thing where I made the point on the air that, forcefully, that dogs aren't people. And somehow that became Rifen hates dogs. And I'd get all these evil letters and all this stuff from people. And I got in a fight with an Oak Hill people. I don't take responsibility for that, but we've patched it over. We patched it over. I had a nice conversation with them. And we both, and that came down to ending the fight with No Kill just came down to, I didn't like their tactics. But at the end of the day, we did share a goal, which was let's get these dogs in some homes. Let's have them not get killed. So we had that conversation that we do have the same goal. We just have different ways to do it. And I'll keep my powder dry and But for years, I wanted a dog, and like friends of mine who known me for years knew that, I'd go to a house, and if the dog was there, then I was hanging out with the dog most of the time. And I noticed one day, Mrs. Rifen was like, the way she would cool down at night before she went to bed is she would get in bed and she'd start going through Instagram. And I'd look over her shoulder every so often. What is she looking at on Instagram? And more, she was looking at pictures of dogs and videos of dogs. And I went, oh, there's an opening. So I said, well, so we started talking to her. I said, hey, I noticed you're looking at a lot of dogs. Are we considering something? She's like, yeah, we're considering something. Okay, so we started having the conversation. And we went down to animal services and started looking around again. That was, and it's nothing against breeders, and it's nothing against Humane Society even. I think they're great dogs, and go do them in a good organization, and they do wonderful work. But I also have always been of the belief that because death row is the animal services, that's where I want to get my dog. And so we went down to death row and started looking at the dogs. And we looked at a lot of dogs, and we took one out that I thought was great. He was a lot of fun, but I think he was a little much for Mrs. Rifen. She didn't care that much for him. So took him, put him aside. He chewed my arms up, but it was all fun, and so we're going down there, and this dog is sitting in the kennel, and she won't come to you. She's just sitting there, and she'll stare at you. She's just sitting there staring at you. She's not clamoring for you. She's not running away from you. She's just sitting there staring at you. And her ears are turned so far back and so far inward that it looks like she barely has little stubs for ears. She's like no ears. But there was a big sign that said, "I'm housebroken." And I went, "I'm housebroken. We should look at this dog." And so we said we would like to take this dog out and take a look at her. And she comes out, and all of a sudden she's got ears. Like she gets out into the yard and she's playing. And she loves chasing the ball, and she's wrestling and jumping up on you, which she still wrestles and jumps. I have so many scars on my arms from Sweetie jumping up and wrestling with me and everything. And she started doing that right away, and then she ran over and dug a hole and sat on the dirt. And I thought, okay, well, that was kind of quick. So she played with us for a little bit. Now she's just hanging out over there. This is obviously not the dog. And I look over at Mrs. Rifen, and she's got an ear-to-ear grin. She is just beaming at this dog. And I went, That one? That's the dog? She said, yep. I said, that's the dog? She said, yep, that's the dog. I said, okay. So we got her, and she was right. That was the dog. But when we got her, her name was not Sweetie. Her name was Bambi. And that was one of the things that also appealed to me. I said, Housebroken appealed to me, but Bambi also appealed to me because, we're Disney people, Disney adults, which has become a dirty word for some reason. And my favorite Disney movie is Bambi. I mean, it's 100% Bambi, period. No questions. It's Bambi and then Peter Pan and then everything else. And so the fact that her name was Bambi was great. We took her home. Hey, Bambi. Oh, good to see you, Bambi. Look at Bambi. Meet Bambi. And I called my parents and sent her a picture. Hey, look what we have. And then my mom's, oh, I can't believe you got a dog. And my mom, Faye Rifen. And we just noticed that she didn't really respond to it. And it didn't feel comfortable calling her Bambi. It just wasn't working. But I did notice that we were calling her Sweetie and that she was responding to that. And because we'd say, oh, come over here, Sweetie, come over here, come, Sweetie, come do this, Sweetie. And it just had naturally become that. And so we had the conversation of, I don't really think Bambi's working out as a name for her. That's what they gave her at the pound. And it's okay, fine. But we had the conversation. I don't really think Bambi's working out as a name for her. Well, what do we name her? And I said, well, there's a couple of things that hit me here. One, we are just by default calling her Sweetie. And two, when my dad was a kid, he had a dog that was named Sweetie. And I think Mrs. Riven just kind of lit up and went, yes, it's a family name. And we're already calling her that. And she's responding to it. So we stuck with Sweetie, and so that's what we changed her name to. So yeah, you can change the name. Gaston does not have to be Gaston, and he will learn to respond to it very quickly. When there's food attached to whatever you're saying to him, and you're calling him by that name, he'll be fine. You give him a big sandwich like he has in that picture, and you call him something to get him there to do that, he's going to answer to that something because he knows that's the right thing to call him. And so I called my mom and I said, hey, Mom, we changed, Bambi is no longer Bambi. She has a new name. And she said, what did you name her? And I said, we gave her a family name. And she goes, did you call her Faye? No, we did not. We named her Sweetie. So she has a family name. And the funny thing is when we got Lady 6 months later, Mrs. Rifen, I said, what do you think about names for this one? She was Rizzo at the pound. She was Rizzo, and that just didn't work for us either. And I said, what do you want to, and Mrs. Rifen just said, I want to call her Lady. And my dog, when I was a kid, was Lady. So I guess that was, they both have family names. If you think about it, everybody's got family names. Wife's named after her dad. I'm named after my uncle. Garrison's named after me and his great-great-great-grandfather. So yeah, it all works out. All right. So anyway, yes, you can change their name if you don't like how it sounds. Just that simple. And Robbie says, I'll throw in $100 pet store gift certificate to anybody who adopts this dog. And yeah, look, I mean, if you want to, like I said, come to me and give me the bill. I'll pay the $50 to adopt Gaston if that's what it takes to get him out of there, to spring him from the joint. And somebody maybe go, Rifen, why don't you take him on? Lady's a special dog. Lady's a sweet dog. Lady's a wonderful dog. Lady is largely, she feels she must alpha. And when she feels she must alpha, it causes problems. And she and Sweetie, they get along okay, but they don't love on each other, and they don't, and Sweetie kind of avoids Lady sometimes, when Lady's in one of those I'm alphaing moods. So, I would say they coexist and they recognize their pack mates and that kind of thing. But in the overall, it's a third dog in this mix would not be healthy for Lady. And that's the reality of that, sadly. Let's see. Engineering note about the USS Enterprise. Nimitz-class carriers have 2 large nuclear reactors. The Enterprise, which was her own class, had 8 smallish reactors because previously all our experience was sub-nuclear reactors, so we had to scale them up. That's interesting. That's insane. Because I love cows and sheep and pigs. They're amazing. I still eat them and they taste delicious. There you go. Again, Robbie says he'll throw in $100 pet store gift certificate to anybody who adopts the dog. I'll pay the fee. We just need to get him gone. Named after the hero of that movie, too. Gaston? Yeah, right. They're building a Disney neighborhood outside of Chapel Hill. Yeah, those neighborhoods, those storybook living, they're calling it. I don't want that, by the way. I'm just saying. I don't want that. Lady was the best dog I ever had. Yeah, see, Lady was a great dog for me as a kid. She was there from I was 6 until I was 17. Or 5. I was 5 until she was 17, until I was 17. Great dog. Yeah. We got it. We're okay. Tell Christy that we wish her our best for sure. We have 4 all from animal control. I question my sanity daily. I would as well. But yeah, they're great. And again, that's Gaston. I don't want to go off too much of a tangent because I think I already have, but there he is. And yeah, look, if somebody in this audience wants to grab him and wants me to pay the fee, I'll pay the fee. Like I said, I'm unemployed. I will pay the fee. And let me also say this. I'm unemployed. I'll be starting a new position next week. As soon as I can launch a media company, I'll be doing that as well on the side. But let me just say this. I didn't take unemployment. I didn't. I'm not saying that everybody is going to be in a position where they don't have to. But that was a thing immediately. I just said, I've never done that in my life. That's not an option for me. I've managed to save. I've managed to accumulate some things. And, we just kind of delved into that a little. And fortunately, it won't be that, once I get the media company going, I'll be in great shape. But, the opportunities are out there. It's one of the things. I made a video right after the Saturday after they let us go, because I was literally seeing iHeart employees going online crying. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't know. And it just disgusted me. I'm sorry. And I know that they were hurt, and I know they were broken up, and I know they were doing a thing they wanted to do and they couldn't do it anymore. But dadgum, guys. They always say one door closes, another one opens. They always say that. You always hear that. And the reality has been with this situation, one door closed and 1,000 doors have opened. And I think that's the case for most people. They just don't realize it yet because they're so addicted to doing the thing they've always done the way they've always done it. But the thing it did for me is it liberated me because it gave me options. And I think most people just don't orient their thinking that way, and they should. Because when they face a situation like I have been dealing with for the last 5 weeks and some change, they'll find themselves looking for the opportunities instead of looking for the pity, looking for the sympathy. One of the things that happens, I've made a lot of really good friends over my decades doing this thing. So many of them reached out. I had one reached out yesterday, didn't know, because again, a lot of people just take summers off. I had one reach out yesterday, just did not know. But I've had so many people reach out, and so many people have like expressed sympathy. And like on the one hand, I really appreciate that because it shows they care, and it means a lot to me that they do care. But on the other hand, I didn't feel sympathy for myself. I didn't feel pity for myself. I felt like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to succeed. And I have a reason to succeed initially, which is I want to succeed because I want to succeed and feed my family and pay a mortgage and, one day maybe retire, or maybe one day just die in front of a microphone. I don't know. But then I was given an extra motivation, which is, you got cast off by somebody. Why don't you make them look stupid for doing it? And the way you make them look stupid for doing it is by succeeding. The way you make them look stupid for doing it is by delivering in a way that clearly they didn't think you were going to be able to deliver. And let me say this, it ain't the local people. The guys in Savannah were so great to me. The guys in Brunswick were gone except for one. But the one person that was left in sales was great to me. We were having a great year together as far as going out there and raising revenue, selling things. It's not the local people. It's the people that you never met. It's the people who embarrassingly the first conversation you have with them is them telling you your position is gone, which is not the way to run a company, by the way. But if you find yourself in a situation, as I said, I'm going to start a new job next week, and it's not going to replace everything I was making in radio, but it comes close. And once I get to launch the company, once I get out from under the thumb of iHeart's contract and non-compete, I'll be doing better than I was doing before, I believe. And I'm going to go on radio with it instead of just sticking it on the internet only, because I think it's better for long-term prospects. But if you find yourself in that position and you find yourself where your life has been shaken up and you no longer have the security that you had of doing the things you do every day and the things that you love doing, understand that there are other options. There are other ways to do the thing that you want to do the thing that you like to do. And you're going to be okay. And don't let somebody who doesn't even know who you are, don't let somebody who has never even talked to you until it was time to tell you your position is gone, don't let them ruin your day, ruin your week, ruin your month, ruin your life. Instead, go prove them wrong. Get up and hit them back. I think there's a reason why Gen X is so resilient. And I'm going to tell you, and you're going to say this is really stupid and goofy, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Because starting in 1976, every 3 years, we had a Rocky movie. Starting in 1976, we had a Rocky movie. 79, we had a Rocky movie. 82, we had a Rocky movie. 85, we had a Rocky movie. We had Rocky movies. And that was the lesson of those things. It's not what is it? It's not how hard you get hit. I can't remember it now. It's not how hard you hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep going. Thank you. That's it. Anybody else who's been in this situation, who's been in this boat, you've had your cheese moved, as that one book said. You have options. You have opportunities, particularly if you have gone out there and you've, as I told all the people that were gone from iHeart when I did that video a couple of weeks ago, if you were good to your community will be good back to you. And that's what I have seen in the last 5+ weeks. An overwhelming amount of beautiful demonstrations of support. And you don't even realize how many people are out there and in your corner. You have a sense of it. You see the ratings and you go, hey, we're doing really well. You see the revenue and you go, hey, we're doing really well. And iHeart goes, yeah, but we like bigger things. Yeah, but we don't want to spend the money. But you see that stuff. You see the numbers on paper, but you don't really see it until people come to you and express it. And they're there. So, I just want to say, if you find yourself in a situation like this, I remember we had a neighbor when B&W closed. Speaking of movie studios, you remember that? We were talking about the movie studio, the proposed new movie studio at New Hope earlier. There was a proposal to do a studio at B&W at one point, if you remember. And again, it was one of those things was never going to happen. But when B&W closed, I remember just people being devastated. because they lost their livelihood. They lost the thing they knew how to do. But one of my neighbors across the street, not Doak across the street, but to the right, knew he could do landscaping, knew he could cut people's grass, knew he needed to work to support his family. And he didn't sit around and cry. He didn't sit around and mope. He didn't sit around and ask the government to do something for him. He loaded up his lawnmower and his rake and his shovels and all his landscaping equipment and put them on a trailer and hauled them around in his truck, and he started feeding his family doing that. He didn't sit and wait for his job to come back because it wasn't coming back. He didn't sit and go, what do I do now? The only thing that I did as an adult is gone. What do I do? He said, you know what? I have this skill. It's marketable. I'm going to go use it. And he made it happen. And his family prospered. His family did very well because he got out there and hustled and made things happen. You can do that. Please don't put that past yourself because you are capable. You will always be capable. You just have to believe that. All right, really quickly, let's see what we've got here. Noah says he's going to match another 100. So if we can get Gaston sprung from prison, you've got Robbie offering 100 in pet store stuff. You got Noah offering 100 pet store. You got me offering. I'm the cheapo now because I'm just offering to pay the adoption fee. And again, I don't have a job, so I'll use that as the excuse. But so you got people really saying, hey, we're going to help you out. And the great thing is, if you got a couple $100 in the pet store, now you can get him a crate. And you don't have to worry about the crate. Now you can get him a nice little bed. Get him a crate, get him a bed, get him some toys. Get him some pig ears. Get him some chicken chips. Go to Island Dog and get some chicken chips. If you want that dog to be your friend, chicken chips. It does not fail. So, we can get Gaston out of there. I found out I was much happier after I was fired by the company. I still call cheap channel. You will be too. I'm already happier because I see the vista in front of me. That's the weird thing. And I've talked about this to a lot of people where they go, yeah, I know it's got to be terrible. And you felt down and blah, blah. And it's like, I only felt down for a couple of seconds. There was that kind of, like my body vibrated for a second when they were telling me the job was gone. And then before they even stopped talking, I was just like, okay, so I'll do this and I'll do this and I can do this and I have the opportunity to do this. I can go over and do this. I mean, I was already game planning before they were done talking to me about all, how wonderful it was that they were going to be moving on without me. I was like, I'm going to be able to own my own thing. I've wanted to own my own thing for a while. And now I'll get to. Look at this. Look at this. Island Dog is going to give a $100 gift certificate to Island Dog, where you can go get chicken chips for Gaston, and he will be your friend for life. We can make this happen. I know I'm bouncing back and forth between these things, but I'm doing this because I got dude, I Play Rocky is the only movie I want to see this year. Have you seen the trailer for this, everybody else? I am so looking forward to this movie. I Play Rocky. It's going to be a Rocky story. It's the story of Sylvester Stallone out in Hollywood trying to make it as a young guy. Nobody will cast him in anything, so he decides to write a script, which is Rocky. Stallone, for those of you who don't know this, Stallone directed most of the Rocky movies. He wrote all of the Rocky movies. But Stallone comes up with a script and then starts pitching the script, and people like the script, and they're like, okay, we could probably get Jimmy Caan. Jimmy Caan would have been a great Rocky, by the way, but he wouldn't have been Stallone. We could get Jimmy Caan to play Rocky or whoever. And Stallone's, no, I Play Rocky. And he literally held out. Like, people wanted his script and they wanted to pay him for his script. But his point was, no, I'm writing a role for me, and this is, me doing my breakout thing. And it was, no, I Play Rocky. I Play Rocky. And eventually they gave in, And the rest is history. That guy's almost 80. He's still a star. And he's written and directed a lot of things. I don't think people understand because of his voice, and because Rocky is kind of a guy who's a little punchy. I don't think people understand how intelligent Stallone is. Now, he does really stupid things sometimes, but some intelligent people do that. But Stallone is a bright guy. No doubt about that. I always admire success. And yeah, it's the thing Rush used to always say. Rush used to say, when he was getting started in radio, he wanted to know how to succeed. And he said, you don't go to the people who failed. You don't go to the people who washed out and ask them how to succeed, because they're just going to be bitter and they're going to tell you bitter things. Talk to the people who have been successful. They'll tell you how to succeed. It's one of my observations. Got almost the same direction. Well, and yeah, counting commercials and everything more, but it is a thing. So anyway, cue the background music. Listen to you. All right. So don't forget, again, please, because I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to wrap this thing up because we've gone way too stupid long. And I know that's just because I think we had a lot to talk about. We were having a lot of fun, but we need to get going. I will remind you that like and subscribe. We crossed the 1,100 threshold the other day in terms of YouTube subscribers. Every subscriber that we get from this point forward helps us out, helps other people find the program. And every like that you put on one of the videos also helps people find it. So like it, subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications, as they say. I'm looking right now. We're at 1106 on the subscriber front, which is fantastic. I love it. So on that note, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great day. Have a great weekend. I might show up and play the guitar a little. You don't even know. I might grab a Scott Rifen signature pick. Yes, they exist. And just start playing. You never know. Anyway, get out of here. See you guys. Have a great weekend. And wait, more people are saying, this is interesting. Thanks for the advice, Scott. For someone who's retiring, so I have no idea what I'm doing next. What I would say is start planning. And start planning based around what you want to do. And then try and figure out ways that you can do it. It's going to work out. All right. Got to get out of here. I'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend.